All right, everybody, welcome. This is Taryn on the Invent Tribe show. Here she is. Just recently signed a deal, and this is one of our first live interviews, so I'm kind of excited. This is going to be a ton of fun. Talking about inventing, talking about licensing, how to bring products to market, and Taryn's story of her bringing her product to market. So, Taryn, without further ado, welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Of course. So I always start off, when I jump on podcasts, a lot of times it's people got to know your background. Where are you from? What about you? So let's dive into it. Where are you from?
Okay. Well, I live in Denver, Colorado currently. I've lived many other places, but that's where we're at now and hope to be staying here a long time. And I live with my husband, and we have 3 little ones, 2, 5, and 7.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, busy house. And we live intergenerationally with my parents as well. So that's also a lot of fun. Get grandma and grandpa on call.
Yep. Built-in babysitters / roommates that fill the fridge.
All good things. It's all good.
Oh yeah. Very cool. Very cool.
And so my husband and I are sort of a dynamic duo. He's the creative end of the product licensing company, and I'm the business end. And so he is the one who comes up with random ideas in the course of his day that solve problems, and we put them on a big list, and then we prioritize which one we think would make the most sense to hit next. And he does the prototyping and the material science behind it, and a lot of the research about what else is out there that might be comparable. And I do more of the writing and the research on that end for fulfilling a PPA application and submitting that and contacting companies and doing the actual license negotiation.
Very cool. You're like every inventor's dream. I just sit back and create. Like, that's amazing.
Yeah, my husband Shai often talks about how he's living his best life right now because it's just all he ever wanted to do.
Yeah, sit back, prototype, just design stuff, and somebody to take care of the business end. That's cool.
Yeah. Well, thank goodness for him with all the ideas, because I'd have a blank page otherwise.
Yeah. So I mean, you guys with multiple deals now.
Yes, we have multiple deals. We just closed one January 14th, and we're very excited about that.
Yep, and that's the one I wanted to talk about because I know from an inventor's perspective, it's like it took so long, but from a coaching perspective of like seeing all these deals come together, it was pretty quick.
Yeah, it really was. I mean, I reached out to this particular company November 2nd. And so it was just over 2 months from initial conversation to signing a deal.
Mm-hmm.
And it was actually interesting because they weren't the first company I reached out to. As part of the process, you teach people to identify your top contenders and reach out to all of them at the same time so that you can start conversations going. And so we actually, I took notes. We actually I reached out to 23 companies in total. And of those companies, 7 actually responded with, reasons why it wasn't the right match for them, or not right now, or whatever it was. One of them was pretty interested in it initially, but it just couldn't get through all of the.
Was that really big company?
Yeah, it was a really big company.
Yeah. I remember that. That was really exciting.
It was super exciting. They were very interested, and then it just didn't get through all the hoops to get to a final, level of interest that was needed. And this company, I actually didn't know if they would be interested in getting back to us because they have other products that are very similar. This is a product that's in the kitchen world, and in my past experience reaching out to companies in the kitchen gadget world, I've heard from companies that, I was like, oh, they have another product that's similar to what we are putting out there, but ours is better. And so maybe they'd be interested in our product. And the feedback that I've gotten in the past was actually they recently launched that product and they're not ready to launch another one and knock that one out of the water. So thank you, but no thank you. And so
Yeah.
I was taking a chance reaching out to this company that has a lot of products that are similar to ours, but again, ours is a better idea. It solves a lot of the problems that people mention on Amazon as being problems with existing products out there. And so we solved those problems with our product design. And sure enough, they realize the potential in bringing something new and unique to the market in a field that they're already very much involved in. And so much so that they actually, in this great business practice, they told me that they approached their existing manufacturer first because they knew that this new product would cut into the sales of existing products that they sell. And they wanted to give their manufacturer the first dibs at producing this for them as well to maintain a positive business relationship. So, that's a good sign of a great business to work with.
Yeah, of course. And to like loop it back a little bit onto like the first interactions, was it like months before they called you back, or how quickly did they get back to you after getting marketing material over to them?
Let's see. I got market material to them on the 9th of November, and they wrote back on the 13th after I followed up on the 11th, just making sure you got the video. Yep. They wrote back on the 13th saying it may be of interest to them. How would I like to proceed? And so this is a company that actually never licensed with an inventor before. Mm-hmm. They liked my energy, I guess, and they liked the product idea. So they were willing to give it a shot. And so, then they said it might be of interest based off the video, how to proceed. And then we scheduled our first call after some back and forth of scheduling challenges. We had our first call on the 31st, was it the day after November 30th? I forget how many days are in November. Mm-hmm. 30th. So I talked to them on 30th and we spoke the next day.
Cool.
Initial talk.
And that, like, from a licensee's perspective, that's usually the call to say, is this inventor like crazy? Are they going to ask for $1 million? So, I mean, a lot of it's them interviewing you. Did you feel that at all?
They definitely asked those questions, how much are you looking for, et cetera. I felt that they were trying to get a sense of who I am, mm-hmm. and have I done this before? Do I have any experience? Because they hadn't done this before, and basically who would be sort of leading the way. They also were interested in other ideas I might have right off the bat because they thought this was a great idea. So yeah, it was really a sort of getting to know you, what kind of energy do you have kind of conversation. And mm-hmm. I made sure to, do a follow-up email the next day, just discussing, laying out the points that we discussed so that if they needed to talk with anybody else on their team, which they did, about what we discussed, that they would have it right in front of them. Cool.
That's a pro move right there. So I love it.
Yeah, well, it was helpful. I mean, then we were able to look back at that email and be like, remember, we discussed this. How do you feel about that now? So after that initial conversation, I was basically turned over to the owner of the company because that initial interest was there. I'm so sorry. That initial interest was there, and the owner of the company wanted to talk with me himself and hear about my business experience and all of that, mm-hmm. and also imparted a lot of knowledge upon me. He's been in the business for a long time. They do e-commerce primarily, actually exclusively e-commerce. And he wanted to make it really clear to me that he knew his business. So if we were to get into a licensing partnership in this way, that he would take my product as far as it can go, and mm-hmm. knows his business. So that was really nice to hear as well.
Mm-hmm. That's, and you built a pretty good relationship with him on that initial call. And I know that really helped out down the road through the contract process because there's a lot of trust
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this company moves fast, with this.
Very fast.
There are some companies that, are doing very well during this pandemic, especially the e-commerce ones. And so this company happens to be, they're just like boom, boom, boom. And the owner of the company really liked the idea and did not want any other company to get their hands on it first. And so before we had even signed the contract, honestly, he had lined up a manufacturer. He got them working on a prototype, an initial sample, before going on to a mold. And before we had even signed again, I mean, we knew we were on the same page, but before we had even signed, he had sent me the prototype that they had made, the sample.
Oh, I didn't even know that. I
Yeah,
didn't know
I have
that.
it. I'm using it in my kitchen.
Oh, cool. Hey, you got to test it out, right?
Yeah, it replaced the prototype that my husband had made. It was professionally done. So it's lovely. And I love putting it to use every day. And, but this, I mean, I think it's unheard of how fast they're moving. It's really phenomenal.
Well, and that was another thing is we were going to do another webinar when they launch, little just to kind of showing the product when it comes out into the public. And they said it's pretty quick.
Yeah, I mean, I think they said right now is a difficult time because in China, where many manufacturers are, it's the Chinese New Year. And it was explained to me that many people like fly hours away from their home to work for months on end and are not with their families. So then for the Chinese New Year, they go back for an extended period of time because that's when they get to see their family in person. So a lot is closed down. But I was told that it's about 45 days to make the mold. And then just straight into production. They're going to make that happen.
I mean, most products, when you license them, to give perspective on this, is usually like 1 to 2 years. A lot of times like 18 months is realistic. And I mean, from the sounds of it, it's like 3 months and they're on the shelf.
Yeah, it's bananas. And I know that this company is also working on bringing other products to market, like 5 other new product ideas at the same time. So they're just moving and shaking. And I think they are doing very well during this time period where everybody's ordering offline and online, et cetera. So I'm hoping that the time will line up just as they're hoping it will. And this thing will hit the market very soon. One of our other licensing deals was from back we signed in September of 2019, and it hasn't hit the market yet.
Yep.
So
and that's more common, honestly.
Yeah, that's much more common, especially with a pandemic in the middle.
Yeah. You can't. That kind of really throws a monkey wrench in it all.
Yes. So it might, in fact, be that both products, of those 2 products might hit the market at the same time, and that will be exciting. But we're very excited about this particular product. We were sure somebody would pick it up. We were surprised there were so many companies that weren't so interested in this one. And I think that in my experience with reaching out to companies right now, a lot of the companies are that put products on the shelf are just not quite as open right now. Maybe people aren't going into stores. They're a little bit more backed up with their supplies.
They're not as confident in, I mean, that's one of the things that I'm seeing is everybody's saying, all right, we see the end of the pandemic, or not the end of it, but the risky part of it is coming this summer is like, we need to launch new products and they don't want to be coming out of this without a new product. But I see the online based companies that are selling mostly through the internet are more confident. They're like ready to roll on products, where companies that are putting products on shelf in stores are still having a hard time necessarily like getting into buyers and having their whole process roll as they normally do. So online companies are definitely growing quickly with new innovation.
Yeah, for sure. And it's also new for me because while some of our other licensing deals have been with companies that are both online and in stores, this one is exclusively online. And it was also interesting just doing the contract side of it because I was much more familiar with royalty percentage based off of net sales, and with online with e-commerce companies, it seems that they're more interested in royalties based off of net profit.
Yep.
So that was a whole new world for me, looking into that and wrapping my mind around that and what kind of cut would be comfortable for me based off of profit.
Yeah, and it's very different. Like the 3 to 5% that you always hear about, or 3 to 7%, it's not realistic when you start dealing in this other category of direct to consumer products, because that doesn't make sense anymore for the inventor, because you don't make enough per product. And so, yeah, it was a very new ball game, and I'm glad the contract. Well, I mean, I guess let's let you talk about the contract. I know that was a lot of times when I work with students, it's 3 months of back and forth with a marked up document, but this seemed to go pretty quick.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like because we had developed this relationship, the owner of the company and myself, through our conversations. I mean, we had like hour-long conversations. We have a good rapport going. Yep. He's a really great guy. Has a great team as well that he works with. So I offered, actually, because he hadn't done this before, I offered to get the ball rolling with a contract, that had everything, a past contract I had worked with, because I knew that was a great place to start without anything else to work with. And then, of course, bringing you in, on the negotiations so that I could better understand what different aspects that his lawyer were talking about meant. I didn't understand a lot of that because it was new for me. And I guess it's a situation in any new contract. Every contract's so different. Even with the same base, it can be a completely different contract in the end, I find.
Yeah. Well,
also,
and the minor change of net sales to net profit. I mean, just the word of profit versus sales changes the structure of a lot of things. Because it's what you're paid off of. Then it changes the royalty, and then it changes what they can deduct. And so, like, little words like that are important to understand because they're the difference in thousands of dollars a year.
Yeah, for sure. And then also, who's going to take care of the patent side of things, of the protection, and who's going to actually take infringers, IP infringers to court, and in what circumstances can the inventor get involved in that, and what obligation does the inventor have to that process. So it's very, very interesting, and really comes down to what the key players want to see happen, and the kind of relationship they want to build for many years to come. I noticed that, I always thought that a contract should have an out for both sides, a full out. If somebody wants out, they can get out for some reason. And I basically signed away all those rights. I'm like, you can basically sell this forever and ever. I don't have a...
That's part of it, though. It's crazy. But I mean, you have to realize, like, we're bringing the idea and they're bringing the money and the execution. And so I feel personally we get a pretty sweet deal on it, but everybody's different. But yeah, you sign away your rights on it essentially, in a way, forever, depending on the structure of your deal.
Yeah. So it was a little bit, it filled me with butterflies at points in the contract negotiation, and being able to talk with you about those finer points really set my mind at ease, because you have so much experience with so many different kinds of contracts. And I mean, it was like the best decision we made, signing on with you to negotiate this contract. And I plan on doing so with every contract moving forward, because
Aaron, you're going to be good enough soon. Like, just 2 more contracts, you won't need me.
I don't know. Random stuff comes up, it seems like. Random things. And I don't know that if I were to bring it to a lawyer, if they would necessarily be able to offer the same level of insight that you're able to offer, based off of experience. I don't know. Maybe. I haven't met a lawyer yet who I've worked with in that way.
Yeah. And lawyers, I mean, they do a great job of covering your butt, but are not always looking out for the business interests. And like, one of the things I see in contracts, or the things that you can set the contract up for, is you can set it up for a good exit, or you can set it up for a good relationship. And I know that was a question that I asked you, and you wanted to set up for a great relationship, because this just was the guy that you wanted to work with. The company, the distribution, everything was kind of right for you. So
yeah. And you gave me great advice. You said, and I actually mentioned it to him when we were dealing with the finer points of the contract. You said, you're not creating this contract for the relationship you have with the owner of the company right now. You're creating this contract for all the things that all the people who you might have to deal with down the road. You know, they sell the company because they get an offer they can't, pass up, or their nephew takes over the company down the road, 20 years from now, or whatever it might be. And that's who you're setting the contract up, to make it really, really clear what the expectations are and the kind of relationship you want to have with the company down the road. So I just kept that in the back of my mind throughout the negotiation, and we both just wanted to get it signed and move on. And a couple of times the owner of the business said, okay, this is signed. I'm going to put it in the back of my closet. I hope to never have to bring it up, because a contract you only really want to bring out when there's an issue. I don't ever want to have issues with you guys. So it's signed, it's done, it's in the back of the closet. Let's move on and get this product to market and make a lot of money. So
but I mean, and that was kind of the mentality I felt from both of you.
Yeah.
Throughout the process, you spoke so highly of him, made me feel like I wanted to go hang out with the guy.
Yeah.
And I was it just, you guys had a great relationship. And that's something that is hard to teach or train. When I talk to students, I say, you got to develop a relationship with your licensee, because it's not just black and white and emails back and forth. You have to build a trust. You have to know that everybody has their best interest in mind, or the deals don't come together. And for a novice inventor that's getting started out, they don't see past, I've got a good idea and they want it. Why do I have to spend all this time developing the relationship? And I think you're the perfect example of, this is it right here. You develop that relationship and it closed the deal within almost a week or a month, or a couple weeks or a month, close to.
Yeah. So. I reached out on the second, but by the time it got to the hands of the owner of the company, it was a short process for sure.
Yeah.
And also I think that, I can relate to that sense of urgency, because you're working so hard on this product, and you're thinking it over, and you're researching, and you're doing marketing material, and you're doing a PPA, and you're reaching out to company after company after company. And then you have somebody who's interested, and you're like, let's do this. I want to get this done. Can you talk tomorrow? And you need to take a step back and realize that although you have come all this way and you've gone through this whole journey and you see the light at the end of the tunnel, that's when you need to take your deep breaths and not be too pushy. And, my husband's like, oh, it's like fishing. It's I guess it's like fishing. Yeah. It's you need to be able to have that patience. You've been sitting there all day on the boat and you finally know that there's a fish and it's right there. But if you're too intense about it, you're going to lose that fish. That's when you need your patience. You had the whole buildup. You need to be patient and feel relaxed. And if it means taking rescue remedy drops before a call with the company, that's what you do. Mm-hmm. So that you come across as cool, calm, collected, relaxed. Nobody wants to feel pushed or you're not going fast enough. I felt like I was the one taking longer, in fact, than this company, because they were like, okay, we want it to market. Where's the contract? Have you sent us, the lawyer back to
okay, yeah. So this is really cool. And this happens in every deal for the most part, is you put it out there, you push. And I always relate it to a big boulder, and you're pushing it up a hill. And then as soon as you get to a certain point, you don't know where that point is, but it goes over the other side and they start to pull. They're all right, let's go. It's time. And so that was the perfect reiteration of that story, is they started calling you, they're emailing you, where's the contract? Let's get rolling. We want to launch this. But it's so true, because you push for so long, you get to a point where their team gets behind it, their resources get behind it. And with a team of people in a company and their resources, you'll feel the pull, because it's faster than an inventor can move as an individual.
Yeah. And I actually was doing the whole, should I follow it up with you in 2 weeks? He's like, 2 weeks? No, I'm getting on the phone with my manufacturer tonight. They're in China.
Yeah.
I'll call you in 2 days.
I'll call you tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
The old prices. Yeah. cool.
I'm very lucky. I feel very lucky to have found this company because it's just been a pleasure to work with them so far. And I'm glad that they want us to send them more products. And they're like, whatever you said. These companies are flush with cash right now, and they want to get new products out there because
Yeah.
this is their time to grow. Because they
Mhm.
have, it's like, what do I do? Like these e-commerce companies, they were doing fine. And then all of a sudden, they were doing more than fine. They couldn't even keep up, I'm sure. A lot of these companies, I'm not talking about this one in particular because I don't know their circumstances, but I just know that they're, a lot of companies are very open right now, and that this is their time to grow
Yep.
and develop their business.
And they're taking advantage of it. Like they're investing in new innovation, new products, new SKUs to get on the shelf and create another stream of revenue for them.
Yeah,
So
but it is hard to get in touch with some of these companies because,
very hard.
I mean, they have such little overhead. They have like, a couple people working in an office a lot of times, these like Amazon sellers, but they might be selling 25 products, and maybe that's the company that you want to reach out to, but it's not as easy like through Amazon to get a hold of a seller necessarily unless you've bought their product. Then Amazon lets you contact them. You're only allowed to email a certain number of sellers at a time through Amazon without them having responded to you. I think they're trying to avoid spamming of companies, which I get. But it's hard to identify the companies, but it's worth it, I feel, because they're really up and coming in this somewhat new society that's developing where so much is online because it has to be.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I love it. I mean, that's you're encapsulating, like, this is what I think the future of inventing is going to be, is a lot of products directed towards these online based companies. And they're different types of products than products sold on the shelf. They're just geared differently because the shopping experience is different, and you're hitting the nail on the head of this is the new world of inventing and how it's going to come together. So it's very cool that you're recognizing and I don't want to say exploiting, but like taking advantage of the situation and getting your foot in the door as the inventor that's going to invent the new products for the internet, or that get sold on the internet.
Yeah, and it's great too because a lot of the products that my husband, pops up, in his head are products that are unique enough that they would benefit from a video, like as part of their marketing. And just seeing it on the shelf in what's that?
I love video for
Yeah.
product demos. And I mean, obviously Taryn being my student, she sends me more videos than just the products that she's getting licensed. And I mean, they're right. I mean, and this is another point that I always bring up in YouTube videos: revolutionary versus evolutionary. And all the stuff, I mean, most deals I see are evolutionary, not these big revolutionary changes of, new, completely different systems. And these are just small tweaks and demonstrated well in a quick 30 to 60-second video.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I've definitely come a long way with my iMovie skill set and my Photoshop skills. I'm like, if I needed a second job, which I hope to never need with this going as it is now, I feel like I'd be able to be one of those Fiverr people rocking the Photoshop or the iMovie for other inventors or other professionals.
Yeah. Well, like, I remember back when I was like editing, I was like, iMovie, how to do a fade. I'm like, I don't know how to do this stuff. And so like that I watch a YouTube video and now I know how. And so like you build these little skill sets, and then like instead of like getting video clips and it taking 10 hours to like clip together 60 seconds, it's like an hour and you can be like, bam, 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 all done.
Yeah. Now I do my videos in 24 hours, like last even.
Yeah.
Once we have an idea of what we're going to shoot, it's super fast now. And similarly with all the, line drawings for the PPAs on Photoshop.
Yep.
It was all self-taught, through YouTube videos. You have a situation, I need to do this one thing. And sure enough, there's a 1-minute video about it on YouTube from some soul who decided to explain it to everybody else.
Yeah. And the only thing you need to know is how to type it into Google. Cause like, I remember there were certain things in iMovie that I was trying to do that I've like seen in like TV commercials or like on movies or something. And I'm like, I don't know what that's called. So I'd have to like Google what I thought was closest and then read articles and find out the actual word to Google to find out how to do it. But then I always did.
Yeah.
So the only skill you need is to figure out what words to use to Google.
And I feel like actually being a product developer, and you need to do so much research. You need to know how to pick out your keywords in order to really identify if the product's out there, if there was anything like that. Similarly, within patent applications and patents that have been awarded to inventors, you need to be able to pick out the right words to find what you're looking for. So those research skills come, in handy across the board for all these different aspects. Also researching the company that you're entering into negotiation with. You want to know that they have a good rep when it comes to customer service and quality products, because you don't want to align yourself with a company if they don't have great reviews as a company and for their products. So this company that we aligned ourselves with, I specifically on Amazon, when I'm looking for companies I might reach out to, I look at the reviews first. I look at the top rated products and the top rated companies. And that's where I feel like, okay, they're trying hard. They really care. So that's the kind of company I want to talk with.
And usually they're more than just one guy shipping stuff out of his garage.
Usually, yeah.
And so not that there's anything wrong with that, but usually they don't have the capacity or ability to develop something new or different than what they're just buying off of, let's say, Alibaba and then reselling on Amazon. And so you need somebody that has, that 1,000 5-star reviews and just raving fans, because more than likely they didn't get that way with just one person putting together, stock photos.
Yeah. And also you want to know that they're going to stick around. So many companies enter onto the marketplace and then they disappear as fast as they came in. And it takes, maybe they're infringing on somebody's IP and it just destroys their company and they didn't realize that they were doing that. Or they bet too hard on one product idea and they didn't have any backups, and they, it only took one product not being as big a sale as they thought it was going to be, or one shipment not, being produced properly and all their great ratings went down the drain, and there goes their business. So you want companies also that have enough products that have been around long enough to have developed their reputation. You don't think they're going anywhere anytime soon because they know what they're doing.
Yeah, they've got the staying power. And getting to be about a decade ago, I sold stuff on Amazon, and it's hard work. It's a lot of work, and I was the guy selling stuff on Amazon out of my garage, essentially. And but then I realized I like royalty checks a lot better than working.
Passive income.
Passive income's way better than working for money. So I'm not saying you're not working for it, but it's it's a very different revenue stream. And so I had listings on Amazon. I was selling products, but I didn't have the staying power. It wasn't something that I wanted to do long term. So if I would have launched somebody else's product, I would have been gone soon thereafter. And so yeah, there's something to say about the staying power of companies with multiple products, a lot of reviews, and that are looking like they're not just a handful of products on the shelf. So
yeah. And I'm often asked if I want to venture some of our ideas. I mean, we have 7 different products, almost to be 8. It's almost 8. I'm just finishing up the PPA on our last idea that we did a video on. And people ask me why don't you bring them to market yourself? And I'm like, I don't want another business. This is our business. We're in the business of coming up with awesome ideas. Yep. And I want to leave that business to the people who are interested in that business, because that's not where my interest lies, and that's not
very different.
Going to be successful.
Yeah, and it is. It's very different. It's a completely different skill set. It's not thinking of ideas. It's being able to effectively manage logistics and customer service, and it's not necessarily being idea people. And so people think that venturing is about the idea, but it's not. It's about running a business, where licensing is, there's an aspect of it that's largely about the execution, but more so about being good idea people.
Yeah, and being able to also think through problems and design products that have the best design possible. The company that decides to license your idea from you, in the end, often will just say, okay, what are the dimensions? What dimensions should we use? What's the thickness of the material? What material do you think is the best to use for this? And so those are things that are that's part of the fun for me and my husband. We just talk about that when we go for a walk and leave the kids with grandma and grandpa. That's what we talk about. Oh, we can make it like this, but maybe it should have this angle because then it would be easier to put on that. And, his material science background really comes in handy.
So like dinner table discussion is like product review, like inventing circle, brainstorming.
We have to limit ourselves because otherwise our kids would be super bored. And so we have a rule. The kids aren't allowed to do math and spelling at the table. There's a time and a place for that. And we're not allowed to talk about the business at the table, at the kitchen table. But
cool.
We definitely schedule it in because that's the part that we love. And we love just mulling over ideas together and figuring out how to make it better, or if it's a good idea that other people would want to buy, or if it would be too expensive to produce to make it worthwhile, or things like that. But we're always looking to solve problems. And this is what we love, and we love working together. We've always wanted to work together in a business, so this is it, and we're very happy to see it really moving forward, and we look forward to seeing those royalty checks roll in, and allow our kids. Our kids have to keep everything a secret. Our 5-year-old especially is like, my mommy and daddy are inventors, but I can't talk about any of it. And I'm in the videos, but I can't tell you what it is until it's for sale online.
Oh man, keeping a 5-year-old quiet. That's a close.
We bribe him.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to bribe him. That's part of his allowance, is hush money, basically.
Basically, yeah.
Oh yeah. Hush money for a 5-year-old. That's good though. It's good.
Yeah, it just takes a new Lego set.
Yeah.
And he wants to be an inventor when he grows up, and he's throwing ideas at us all the time too, for fix-it machines and new painting machines that are going to paint this and fix that and build this. And I'm like, awesome. How's it going to work? And I'm really trying to start him young. He can take over the business.
Yeah. So this is fun. My 3-year-old just came to me with an invention. She didn't use the words invention because she doesn't understand that part of it yet. But she's like, we need to do this with a bicycle, and started explaining. And I was like, no way, you're inventing. I was like, this is somewhat of a legitimate idea. So yeah. It was very cool to see your kids be a part of the fun of it. And obviously you're not only developing this skill in this company, sounds like for yourself, but for your family, and how cool would it be when your kids are 7 to 10 years old and they're coming up with toy product ideas or whatever, and you can be like, we know how to get that to market. We know how to start your college fund.
Exactly. I'm planning. I'm ready. I'm ready for that to happen.
Yeah, man. You know how cool that'd be?
Really awesome. And I think that this is the time too that all the shows have to do with inventing that the kids are watching. And it's so cool to be an inventor. And in school, they have to come up with a new invention. So I have my niece and nephew contacting me when it's time, they're doing an invention series and they need to think about inventions that they can bring to the invention fair. And so they're like, oh, I'm going to call Auntie Taryn and Uncle Shy and see what they think about this invention, or how I should show it best and stuff like that. And I'm like, that's cool. It's cool that it's not just, oh, that's a nice dream you have, and we'll see when that happens. Now that we've signed licensing deals, family members contact me or they text me, I have an idea for you.
Oh yeah. And they never, not to say anything bad, but they never stop.
Yeah, they don't. So that's another thing. I have a rule with my husband. I am the filter because he's the creative. I don't want his
gotta have a filter.
Yeah, I don't want his creative stuff to be swayed, his creative energy. So sometimes I share with him, and sometimes I don't, depending on what I think he should hear at this point in time.
Well, are you talking feedback from companies?
Not feedback from companies, more like family members sending us ideas because they're not necessarily trained in the idea development process. There's like, oh, they're like, oh, this should have this. But then my husband's super creative and he's been doing this long enough that he's like, well, it shouldn't stop there and it should actually be made with this other thing and it should be designed this other way. And then it was inspired by something a family member sent us, but it's really not the same thing anymore because it was given to a professional thinker and they took it in this completely different direction. And then we wouldn't feel comfortable
taking it to market
and pushing it off as ours, because obviously the concept, the idea of, oh, this should work better than it does, or this problem should be solved, came from a family member. And then there's a conflict of interest.
Yep. And I mean, that's probably for the best, because you'll probably hurt some family relationships if they're like, oh my God, you're making money off the product I told you.
Yeah, because I mean, it was an idea, and obviously it wasn't developed, and it didn't go through the process, and my husband could make it go through the process very fast, and then all of a sudden, well, we can't really do anything about it. And once we're really rolling with this, with all of our own ideas, I think that we might have space to take on family ideas and, take a cut or something like that, because it'll be a well-oiled machine. But as you said, you're pushing a boulder up a hill, and then only, you want to see it start rolling, and the pushing part, you need all of your energy to be able to put towards what you're trying to accomplish.
Top of the hill. And like, I love the comment that you had a trained product developer. And not that you even need schooling, but you need to go through this process of licensing products to understand the difference between licensable products and concepts. And that's something that I see a lot of people come in with. They create great concepts. They have products, but they're not products for licensing yet until they go through these iterations. And, from what I've seen from you guys, you understand that process of like thinking about the manufacturing, thinking about, and these are not all things that have to be figured out exactly from the beginning, because when you get them over to a potential licensee, they have a lot of input. They have a lot of changes and modifications sometimes to get the pricing right or get the size right, all these different things that they incorporate. But, it's great that you're recognizing that there is a difference between product concepts that people tell you and then one that's been through the product developer thinking process of how do we actually get this on the shelf. Very different.
And very different. And similarly, I mean, he's at the creative side of that, and we work together to develop those, how to make it the best it can be. But on the other side, the side that I take care of, reaching out to companies and everything, once again, you could just make a list of companies and send your product to them. But at the point that you have multiple ideas and you're trying to keep track of, did I send it to this company? Did I send it to that company, et cetera? Then you need to get your professional tools in place. Like, for instance, I work with a customer relations management tool online so that I can keep track of where am I at with this company? When did I send them the idea? Did I do a follow-up yet? And I work with a company called Less Annoying CRM. And I was able to actually change the system to have pipelines be associated with my process. Did I reach out to a company? Did I hear back from a company? Did I send them the video? Is it not the right company? I've researched them and they're just not the right match for this product idea, et cetera. And so this company, Less Annoying CRM, it's a small business and it's a great program, and it keeps all of my products in order. And I'll put a link here in case any professionals are looking to move in this direction, have more than one idea, and they are having trouble with spreadsheets, keeping track of it all. And there it is. So it's Less Annoying CRM. And if they go to that, they'll actually get, I think it's a free month.
Cool.
So, I love that program. And I don't know where I would be today if I didn't have something like that to keep track of everything. So similarly, you have somebody who has an idea. If it's a one-off, great. You're contacting X number of companies. It goes, it doesn't go, done. But if this is a business and you're just rocking product after product after product, you need to know where you are in the process. So it's a great tool.
And that's one thing that I work with my students on, not necessarily this CRM, but like, I love this. I've actually been looking for a CRM personally to organize my stuff, because I'm still like super old school and I use note cards. I like shouldn't be telling people this, that I like still use pen and paper to do my CRM stuff. But I want to get digital because you can do so much more there.
Well, it's whatever works for you. I mean, if you have a system and it works, stick with it. But I am super digital and I need to be able to just access my information on the go. When I'm dropping the kids off at school and I hear back from a company, I'm like, oh, when did I reach out to them? So I want to be able to pull up all my notes quickly and efficiently. And I don't want to let anything drop, because there's so many balls up in the air. As I said, we have 7 different products that are protected. A few of them are licensed and some of them are in the works. And, I wouldn't be able to keep track of it all with life on top of it.
Yep. And like so when this was a long time ago now, it was, can you drop the name of the product again? Yeah, the name is called Less Annoying CRM. I just put a link in the chat.
Cool.
Here, let me.
Oh, I don't know. Did my link show up in your chat? I'm not sure.
Yeah, the link went right to me, but I posted it, but it's not posting to LinkedIn. So I'm just going to go to LinkedIn and see if I can just post it.
Yeah, because I did a lot of research on different customer relations management tools. So other people don't have to. Many of them are more complex than an inventor would need. You want something that's very pliable and customer service that's able to help you set up your pipelines so that you get reminders when you need to reach out to companies, and you can very easily pull up a report on how many companies you've reached out to versus how many have gotten back to you versus how many you have in this group versus that group. And at the point that you have multiple products in the same field, you also want to be able to separate companies that are right for this product in an industry versus that product in an industry. So you can set up different groups.
Well, so I'll tell you a story that happened to me years ago. I was pitching 8 products or so, and I was using my card system, and somebody called me and just jumped right into discussing the contract. And like, I'm sitting there trying to figure out who it was, because I was dealing with, I think, 4 contracts at the time, 3 or 4 contracts. And so I'm sitting there like trying to discern what deal they're talking about. And I literally had to stop and be like, okay, so what product are you talking about? And they're like, how many are you working on? I'm like, yeah, don't worry about that. But you need to stay organized. And at that point I was like, I need to get a little bit more on track, because, it's not, I mean, they didn't necessarily care, but I don't want somebody to be like, this guy is not on top of his game enough for us. So
yeah,
it's important. It really is, especially with follow-up. Like, it's almost impossible to put it all inside your brain and keep it in spreadsheet, for me at least, of like, when you call a company and they say, hey, that individual is not coming back till, February 3rd. Oh, okay. How do I remember to call them, and having that system in place?
Yeah. And then where is the information on their website, and, the kinds of products they sell, and maybe the keywords that I might want to drop in the conversation, because I know that this company is really big on, recycling or the environment or whatever it is, and my product is perfectly aligned with their mission as a company. So like those kinds of notes that you want to have. I've had some background in customer service in the past, so I understand the value of the relationship building and being able to keep notes for yourself, so you can continue with that, because sometimes a company will drop off and then maybe it's 6 months to 8 months and you haven't talked to them, but then you're going to talk to them again. And it's great to remember that so-and-so's son, Joe, was going to be going to a cool trip in, Mexico. So you want to be able to keep track of that. I know a lot of people can do that through Rolodexes and stuff. And, as you say, old school. I don't have that skill set. I never was raised with that. I'm all computer. So but I think it's just a key of finding what works for you. And I know people say scale up as you scale, but sometimes it's better to get a system that's going to work for you from the beginning, if you know that this is what you want to do, so that you're not doing double work. Because I started with spreadsheets, and then at the point that I realized I just couldn't do it anymore, I had a lot of time spent uploading all the information from the spreadsheets into the CRM program. And I feel like I could have saved a lot of time because I knew that this is what we're doing. This is our business.
That was could have been actually a deterrent to you jumping over to a CRM. Like, you're just like, I will stick with what I'm used to, but you wouldn't be able to scale from that. No. And so like, knowing that, and to like be a coach for a second, it's like when you start with one product, it's easy, right? You're calling 20 companies, you're following up, you can take notes on one sheet of paper and figure it out. But like, if you're looking at doing this as a business, you're going to be calling more than one on one product, right? You're going to be calling on two. And when you have, let's say, 25 companies per product and you're calling on 4, that's 100 companies that you're calling, following up, emailing, and knowing. Like, sometimes you get chatting with the receptionist and they tell you a little offhand story of something, and you can take a note on that. And then when you follow up, you can say, hey, how was your son Jimmy's trip to Mexico? And they'll be like, they're in, they get to go wherever they want. Like, It does. It's the keys to the kingdom, right?
Yeah, definitely. And especially so many, I think that a lot of the coaching is, if you want to make a business out of this, you stick in 1, maybe 2, maybe 3 industries, because you're developing those relationships. It's much easier to get a new product idea into a company that you've already talked with about 2 other products. Unfortunately, like, we tried that. That's just not how inspiration strikes. And my husband and I decided we're just going to go with the ones that make the most sense for us, even though it means a bit more work, because it might be a new industry. We try to prioritize industries we've already invented for. But I probably have 1,000 contacts already in my CRM program for different industries. And there's no way I would be able to keep that straight from year to year.
Nope.
Absolutely. There was no other system I could use.
And so, like, right now you're at the beginning stages. Obviously you've been at it for some time, but like, you're developing that Rolodex. So now it's like, all right, now you don't have 1 or 2 industries, you have a handful of industries. So it's like, now there's a better chance that your husband is creating products within those categories again. And so when you're getting started, there's tons of work, right? Contacting, emailing, following. Now you have your Rolodex. So it's like, well, and this goes back to, I don't know if you ever saw, it was called the 10-day deal YouTube video. And I did a deal in 10 days, but like I reiterate in that video, it doesn't take 10 days. It was 18 months of building my Rolodex, building my relationships, setting everything up before that, so that when I had an idea, like, if you went back to this company with another idea, you have a contract, they already know what the relationship's going to be. And so you send them the product and they're like, hey, we love this. Can we sign the same contract and just change the name? You'd be like, yep.
Done
and
done.
It'd be like a 3-day deal.
Yeah.
Beat the 10-day deal.
That's our goal. We're gonna beat the 10 days. We're gonna
10-day deal. That's gonna be amazing. I'm gonna be right there by your side the whole way through. Like, I want you to. That'd be so sweet.
Well, you beat your 10-day deal. I mean, you have so many contacts at this point. You're just rocking it. So, while we're live here, I know we've been on for a while. I just, want to reiterate how beneficial signing on with you and Invent Tribe was for, being able to close this deal and do it so quickly and with confidence and come across as professionally as I did. And it made all the difference. So it was really a phenomenal investment. And I mean, as I said, we plan on doing that every time we're signing a contract, because I mean, if you think in the long run, this contract could bring in thousands of dollars over the next how many number of years, the life of the patent possibly. And it's worth an initial investment to make sure your contract is good for you. And it takes having somebody like yourself who has so much experience with that to be able to feel confident in that. And I never look back at past contracts and I'm like, oh, maybe I should have done something differently, because I know that I had the support that I needed and the mentorship that I needed to make the right deal. And I never second guess it. So it's nice to be able to sleep at night and to have, David on board. I highly recommend to everybody who's watching. Invent Tribe is phenomenal. It's also great to have other people who are doing similar work and coming up with different problems, different, roadblocks that you maybe have never experienced yourself, but it's nice to hear what other people are going through. So then, for the future, if you ever come across that, you know how to handle it and you feel the support of a bigger community. So thank you, David.
Of course. Well, thank you. Honestly, I mean, you were the one in the ring, taking the punches and rolling with them, and keeping calm and closing the deal. So, I mean, you were the real rock star here, the one making it happen. So I appreciate, you doing the hustle, doing the hard work, because it does it. You're the student that makes me look good. You make it look easy.
Oh, well, that's nice. Well, and this gets easier and easier as you do it more. So, the sooner you jump in and you stick with it, the sooner you'll start seeing it become easier and easier. And I hope that, you make it look easy. You're like, oh, I have all these contracts and my stuff is out there and you can see it over there. And I'm like, that's what I aspire for, that it's just, that it is just second nature. But it's definitely a fun, it's a fun business to be in if this is what you enjoy doing and you like learning new things and trying new things. And this is a great business to be in.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your experience with everybody. I know it will help out tremendously for everybody involved. I am doing a Q&A tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So it'll be a live Q&A. I'll put a link in the chat so that everybody can click on it and jump in there. It'll be a Zoom meeting, and so we can all sit down, ask questions, whatever you need to kind of get you rolling and get up to Taryn's level. So that's what we're all shooting for.
No, we're shooting for your level. We're all shooting for your level, David. But I'm a nice stepping stone along the way, hopefully. My level. Well, thank you so much. And, it's just a pleasure to work with you. And so I look forward to showing you the product when it hits the market from this contract.
Yes, we'll do, so everybody watch about 3-4 months, maybe we'll do another kind of follow-up video and be able to show the product and what it is, and obviously a link back to it so you can check it out. So wait for that coming in 3 months or so.
Awesome.
All right, cool. Thank you so much. And hopefully see everybody tonight at the Q&A session.
Great. Thanks, David.
Thank you.